I am outside of my favorite place. All right, we see that? Okay. Was looking into Zora Neale Hurston last week. I knew this. I knew that I wanted to do a body map of her. I knew that I wanted her to be a part of not only the installation, but I knew that I wanted her to be a part of the script, even though she kind of was outside the lines of, and certainly outside of the geographic regions that I was dealing with and the time periods that I originally thought that I was going to be focusing in on. But I still was just like, no, I need to have Zora Neale Hurston to be a part of this, just because she's been so significant in my own kind of narrative journey. And as I revisited my old friend Zora last week and dove right back into her own writings and then others' writings about her, I realized she is the epitome of what the Labor Pains Project is trying to do. Zora Neale Hurston undoubtedly is a major contributor to the American literary canon, not to the African American literary canon, even though obviously she sits there as well, but to the American literary canon, Zora Neale Hurston is a major contributor. And this began way before Their Eyes Were Watching God. I think that is probably her magnum opus. That's what most people would say, that's what a lot of us know her for. This was after her books were out of print, and Alice Walker brought her back to life with finding the burial site and just reminding us of how important this woman is, not just as a writer, but also as a social scientist, as a historian, as someone who helped honestly shape, perpetuate, uphold, or just kind of redefine the American identity. And I'm going to let you kind of choose what it is that you think that you did. I think that there were definitely people who see her as a person who perpetuated a system and perpetuated a way of thinking that we needed to outgrow. And I think that there are people that really believe that she really revolutionized how we look at Black America and how we look at the African American vernacular. Where you sit is completely up to you, but I do think it's a conversation that is being had. We've seen more and more of her works kind of come back into publication, not just Their Eyes Were Watching God, but also Moses, Man of the Mountain, Herod is out, right? So we're seeing more and more of these things that just kind of went unpublished. I personally am waiting for her unpublished plays and musicals to make their way back to Broadway, because this woman really just understood African American folklore in a way that I don't think others got. And she was able to create her own version of lore through her fiction works because of her understanding of African American folklore. So it was very clear from just kind of that standpoint that I was going to be using Zora Neale Hurston as not only a body map and a figure as part of this project, but also her story. And then as I'm reading more and more about her writings, I'm realizing not only is she the epitome of the Labor Pains Project, but I absolutely need to be digging into her lived economic situation, which I knew, right? I just said her books were out of print by the time that she died. It took Alice Walker to find her burial site because she was buried in a potter's field. Most of her papers were burned upon her death because there were no instructions as to what was supposed to happen to her state, right? So there's all of this that's happening, and there are so many factors as part of the Black woman's lived experience in America that are exemplified, right, in what I just said. The fact that she didn't have a will, the fact that she didn't have an estate, that she didn't have all of these things that we know to be important in 2025, and some people had access to, and someone as important and as influential and as intelligent and as creative and innovative and such a major contributor to American understanding and national identity as Zora Neale Hurston, you would think that she would have these things, and she didn't. And I think it's really important for us to understand why. If we as a society, as a culture, as a nation didn't fail her or other women like her, where would we be? And because I don't want to just hark on the past, what can we do right now in our immediate sense to the women, the Black women in America right now that are either experiencing a lived experience similar to Zora Neale Hurston, or one that is worse? What can we do to protect those women? Because I guarantee if we target policies, if we target legislation, if we target our practices to really empower that group of people, the Zora Neale Hurstons of 2025 in America, if we can really zero in on that group, I absolutely guarantee that everyone will be doing so much better. Everyone would benefit. Everyone would be able to live and have a quality of life that we really believe that all humans deserve. We want to be able to live a life in which we are free, because that, ladies and gents, my red velvet cousins, my fellow community, I'm just saying, in 2025, that's what we want. That's what we're going for. Because in 2026, we're certainly not stepping into 250 years of the Declaration of Independence being shoved down our throats. We're not stepping into 2026 not free. That's not gonna happen.